So once again, a very warm welcome for this session on TISAX webinar. My name is Girish Siliswal, and I head management system business of DQS India. A couple of ground rules before we go for this session. This webinar will be recorded, so later on, if any point of time you would like to have a recorded version, we should be able to provide that. All the attendees are in the listen mode only, so just to avoid the disturbances during the presentation. However, we'll have a questions session at the end of the presentation. The agenda is we will start with the DQS India and DQS India's credentials on TISAX. We'll also talk about because it's information security framework for automotive industry particularly. So what is the difference, typical difference between ISO 27001 and TISAX, the TISAX assessment methodology, and how DQS can help you to go through this process. So today's program, we have a very experienced trainer, the DQS trainer, DQS auditor, Girija Togati, and she's a electrical engineer by basic qualification. She has more than 20 years of experience in IT, software product, service management organization. She has been a lead auditor for various standards, which includes 27001, 27701, 27017, and ITES also 20000, and also the TISAX. So majority of the assessment in India are which are done by DQS, and Girija has been a major part of driving those assessments for the TISAX. Who we are, DQS is a German certification body. In fact, the first German certification body for management systems, and established in 1985. And Germany, the industries felt a need for an organization who can assess the organization on the various management systems. Then DQS was formed. The major stakeholders at that time was DGQ, which is German Society for Quality, and we all are very familiar with DIN standards. So DIN was the German standard writing bodies. Along with various associations, they formed the DQS in 1985 in Germany. The whole objective of this DQS formation was to provide an impartial, objective, and independent assessments. We are a global organization, and from that perspective, we have a presence 85 offices in 60 countries. Our certificates are available in more than 130 countries. In 2008, globally, the DQS and UL got merged, or you can say the UL became also one of the major stakeholders. And 2015, the UL marked intentionally got removed from the DQS from the branding perspective, even though the UL still remains one of the major stakeholders. And this year we have rebranded ourselves as a more vibrant, transparent, reliable, and dependable organization. We also moved to the one DQS concept, which includes the uniform practices across the globe, including the websites, the tools, and the various platforms which we are using to serve our customers to have a uniform global experience all across the world. DQS has been pioneer in many ways. If you talk in terms of global perspective, the first German certification body which got accredited for ISO 9001 and 14001, the first CB for the automotive standard, ISO TS 16949 and VDI 6.1. In fact, for the TISAX also, DQS was one of the first few CBs who got approved for the TISAX also. And the first IRS certification worldwide is done by DQS. When we look at the Indian context, Indian perspective, the first auditor in India for automotive, telecom, aerospace, electrostatic discharge called ESD 2020, anti-bribery, responsible care. Even for TISAX, we have maximum auditors, and we were first few who got qualified our auditor for TISAX. And the other USP, we say that within 14 days of certificate turnover, so within 14 days after the issues gets closed, we are able to issue the certificate. However, it may not be equally relevant in case of TISAX because TISAX doesn't result in terms of issue of certificate. We serve to various industry verticals, more than 200 standards we provide services, 25 industry verticals, and more than 65,000 certified locations worldwide we have certified. The certification portfolio comprises of various sector-specific standards, starting with the aerospace, food and safety. The medical, you find very specific standards, 13485, also the CE marking. The transportation talks about IATF for the automotive standard. The transportation also comprises the railway. So there is a railway standard separately for ARIS. And when you look at the IT segment, there are certain products which are very IT specific, for example, as a 20,000, which is only for IT services. However, there are other products which are applicable across the organization. We call horizontal products. If you look at today's session on TISAX, so in IT you find 27001, which is a common or generic information security standard. When you look at in terms of various, if you're supplying to, or if you're dealing with the Europe, then they will expect you to also comply with GDPR. If you're supplying to or dealing with your customers in US, then they ask additionally NIST compliances. Automotive industry is different in nature because you see many of you would have felt that the automotive OEMs first, they expect that there has to be compatibility of the platforms because most of the information is shared across the platform, whether it's the CAD, whether it's your supplier portals, you have access to customer, your performance in the customer portals. So you will find much more integration of those systems or compatibility of your existing system along with the customer systems are required. That also there's a chances of information getting leaked and misused, and therefore exclusively, especially the TISAX standard has come out that how this trusted information security exchange means how this information which is being shared across the platform is being protected. So Girija will talk about more about this in incoming slides. For payment card industry, they look at the PCI DSS, SOC 2, SOC 3, mainly for medical and other related industries. CMMI. We also do the vulnerability and penetration testing as a part of IT products, and there are many sustainability products we do provide service. So please approach us in case you need more specific services or information regarding any of these products. We have been a market leader in the products where the specific competencies are required. So we are number one in IRIS. We have a 35% market share. We are number one in telecom, again with the almost 34-35% market share. Aerospace, we are in the top 3, so 12% market share. Automotive, we are fifth right now. Certificate as on today when we talk, there are 603 certificates in fact issued by DQS as of now, and ESD also we are number one. TISAX also, we have done many certification in the last 2 years, but the trend is picking up. You find when you interact with your customers, you'll find more and more customers are asking the suppliers to go for TISAX because, as I just shared, that the information right from the prototype stage and during the association, the way the information is shared through the common platforms, it becomes more and more important that information remains protected. We also have some digitization products these are SaaS-based product, includes the audit organizer, the doc organizer, and supplier audit management tool, and they help to digitize your internal audit process, supplier audit process, and also the document data control. We are big way into supplier audit process. I would say the supplier audit can be related to the QMS or EHS aspect of supply chain. It can be IT infrastructure related aspect, human right for the supply chain assessment we are doing for various customers, social responsibility, ISO 26000 related audits we are doing for supply chain. So there are various, these are some of the examples, but the DQS has established the credibility in terms of supply chain related work and assessment, irrespective of whichever area the company looks to support. And finally, coming to the TISAX, I'll not take much time. I'll pass on to Girija to take us through the TISAX introduction and further much more detailed information. Girija, over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Girish. And Very warm welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Hope you all are able to see my screen, right? And hope I am audible to everyone. So good afternoon again. This is introduction to TISAX. We'll start with the introduction about TISAX. So TISAX, as explained by Girish earlier. So this is nothing but a trusted. The full form for TISAX stands for Trusted Information Security Assessment Exchange, and this is a German VDA which has defined the TISAX. So some of the German European-based automotive OEMs, you can say, like Volkswagens or BMWs, they have come up. So and they have kind of developed this standard. We will not say developed, but this has been taken from 27001, which is an information security derived from information 27001. So the German VDA has defined the TISAX is to be a mandatory assessment standard for all registered TISAX members, and it has been recognized all the automotive industry worldwide. And joint scheme of assessment and exchange based on the VDA ISA standard 5. So we will touch base upon the what is VDA ISA standard. And then TISAX participants, so all the organizations that exchange information via TISAX. So there is a platform called Enx through which the information has been shared. So the difference between TISAX and the other ISO certificates, you can say that in TISAX you will not get kind of any kind of a certificate as such, but it will be kind of a label which will be assigned to you. So we will touch base, we will discuss on what are the different kind of labels that an organization can opt for. Okay, so again, TISAX, the full form, Trusted Information Security Assessment Exchange. It's a common assessment and exchange mechanism in the automotive industry and beyond. So it's an intercompany test and exchange mechanism based on the VDA Information Security Assessment. So VDA ISA is an automotive security requirement catalog based on, again, ISMS standard, which is ISO 27001. And ISO, though it's derived from ISMS or ISO 27001, it's not, there is some differences between TISAX and ISMS. We will come to that point. And Enx is a kind of a platform or a regulatory body, you can say, which regulates all the TISAX labeling. So when as a customer, if you want a TISAX label, so you have to register yourself in the Enx platform, which is approved by, again, the VDA. So TISAX brings that standardization and quality assurance and a mutual recognition of these audits. So why TISAX? Because as a supplier to an automotive OEMs, you may have to undergo say various kind of audits or assessments, right? Instead of that, what the VDA thought is, okay, let's have a common platform where you will be you'll have some kind of a third-party assessment, and the labeling will be done based on the third-party assessment, and that label can be visible to all your OEMs. Okay, suppose as a supplier, I have say 2-3 customers. So I can go through undergo the TISAX assessment, and that label that label will be there in the Enx platform, and all my customers can see that, okay, to what standard my information security is in terms of the assessment. Okay. So VDA is the owner of the VDA ISA sheet and has appointed. So it is VDA is appointed by Enx for the TISAX program. So Enx is actually the legal or organization operator for TISAX. So Enx, so the rules, the guidelines, the changes to TISAX assessments, everything will be done via Enx platform. So before we register or before we want to go for a TISAX assessment, so we need to log into the Enx portal and download all the latest guidelines or latest the guidelines by the Enx. So Enx is the kind of an approved authority, you can say. So TISAX is an so then from Enx you can select your authorized audit provider, or we call it as a JAP or certification body like DQS or ENY or all the certifications body which are approved by Enx to do a TISAX assessment. So again, auditor assessments are again based on three levels actually, level 2 and level 3. We will discuss on those TISAX assessment levels in our subsequent slides. And participants, so participants are nothing but any suppliers, okay, as an organization. So you as an organization as participants to the TISAX. So OEMs are your customer who require the suppliers to take the TISAX assessment, and auditees are who will get a TISAX label, and that results will be shared across the Enx platform. So what are the few key characteristics of TISAX? So the underlying catalog is developed by the automotive industry stakeholder experts and addresses the relevant risks when sharing the sensitive information to your partner companies. So TISAX assessment companies are standardized scope, ensuring that the assessment covers all relevant business processes and practices for a predefined set of assessment objectives on a specific company locations. So TISAX assessment is focused on handling of the partner information or your customer information, because the label which you are getting is for your customer. And TISAX assessment are tailored to actual task at a relevant locations. So again, the assessment will be location wise as we do for any other ISO certificates. Through standardization of the scope, so TISAX results are transparent, and at the same time it's easy to interpret and compare. And access to the assessment result is via your online portal, which is your Enx. So what are the advantages of TISAX? So you can say it's a customer centric, because sometimes the customers ask you to get a TISAX label, and sometimes the organization themselves are proactively going for TISAX label, because they want to ensure that they are handling whatever customer information they are handling are secure enough. So it meets the needs and demands of your customer and gains the trust of the customer. Information security, definitely in your cyber world today, everything is online. So all the sharing of your information is through your online sharing. So how robust or how secure is my IT infra? So based on my that is kind of a TISAX is an assessment, or TISAX is kind of a validation. It says that how robust or how secure is my IT infrastructure is. So the third point is your efficiency. So avoiding multiple assessment, as I mentioned, you need not go through multiple rounds of assessment by your OEMs or other suppliers. Once you say that I am TISAX assessment level 2 or assessment level 3, that itself says that how your IT infrastructure or other processes in terms of information security is. And it is recognized worldwide, internationally it is known. And as mentioned, it's an online platform. So everything happens, all the labeling and showcasing the labels and everything is through the online platform, which is our Enx. Now coming to the, as I mentioned, so though TISAX is derived from 27001, but there are a little difference between ISO 27001 and TISAX. So ISO 27001, which is a information security management systems, which is kind of a mother of information security world, you can say. So all the other standards, like in the 27000 series, like 27701, 27017, 27018, all are derived from 27001. Even SOC controls or your TISAX controls are derived from the 27001 controls. So the basic, so 27001, the primary difference is 27001 is industry agnostic. That means it can be for any industries, IT, manufacturing, medical, for any industry, what is your information security is. So 27001 is kind of a generic standard, but when it comes to TISAX, it's specifically for automotive industries. And 27001 flexible scope, so organization can determine the scope in the context of the organization. As we mentioned, it's an industry agnostic. That doesn't matter in which industry you are, the scope can be defined based on the your organization context. Whereas in TISAX, it's coming to a standardized scoping based on your location, your assessment objective, and the results for your business partners. Evaluation, so it needs to ensure your information security risks are addressed appropriately from the point of view of your organization. So when we do an information security risk assessment from 27001, we do see what are the interested parties and what are the risks from the organization's point of view. But when we do a risk assessment for the TISAX, we will consider the point of view from your business partners. The other point is like no central database or certificate or standard exchange mechanism system for audit results. So it follows the standard ISO practice, like the audit is being done and then report is being provided. So nothing is like a kind of an online, and a certificate, a formal certificate is being issued. Whereas in kind of in the TISAX world, everything is online. You register your scope, you register your assessment objective, everything online, and then you will get a scope expert from the Enx portal, and then you will identify your certifying body or audit provider, and audit is being done, and report also it will be provided online, and the labeling is also done online. And there is no consistent for the 27001. So there is no consistent way to integrate the audit results into the supplier management tool. So there is no kind of an online mechanism for the 27001. So you have to individually share your certificates, 27001 certificates to your suppliers. Whereas in case of your TISAX, as we mentioned, it's a centralized database kind of a thing, and then you can share, integrate your assessment results to your supplier management tools. And 27001, it's kind of a broader and a diverse stakeholder involved. As we mentioned, it's an international standard and industry agnostic, whereas TISAX working majorly your automotive group. So now coming to the TISAX assessment process. So how we start with the TISAX assessment. So there are 6 steps, we can say. One is your attention, the second one preparation, and then your assessment education, and then corrective action plan, and then exchange of your results, and then the follow-up. So we will touch base on each of these 6 steps and understand how we will have a TISAX assessment process. The first one, the attention, the auditee, or in this case your organization gets contacted by a business partner appealing for a TISAX assessment or a TISAX label. Say I am an automotive supplier and my customer is asking for me for a TISAX label. So that's the starting point for my TISAX assessment, right? So the TISAX scopes, it typically covers one or more business locations. So if I have multiple locations, so I'm based on my customer requirement, I'll identify which of my business locations are going for a TISAX assessment. And then assessment objective is depending on the business requirement again. So most of the time, the assessment level and the assessment objective is defined or been asked by your OEMs or your business partners. So it is derived from the business requirements, and the business partner requests what is your specific minimum results that the TISAX labels that they are looking for. So TISAX uses 8 assessment objectives, which is tailored to different security requirements, and these are the assessment objectives, you can say. So one is your handling of information with high protection need, handling of information with very high protection level. And then the third one, handling of prototype with high protection need, handling of prototype with very high protection need, and then connection to third party. So this no longer exists. So we will go to the next part. Yeah. So the preparation. So audit is, so once you agree that no, my customer is asking for a TISAX label. So now I will go for a TISAX assessment. So what is the scope, the assessment level, and the assessment objectives is being defined by the customer. And then as an auditee or as an organization, I'll log into the Enx portal and then auditee register on the TISAX network as a participant. So TISAX network is nothing but your Enx as a participant and orders an assessment with a predefined scope and an assessment objective. So then it requests a code from TISAX accredited audit providers. So as I mentioned, when you log into the Enx portal, you define your scope, your assessment level, your assessment objectives, and then you select your who can be your audit provider. So there are couple of approved Enx approved audit providers. So you can select one audit provider, and from there you can get the quotes, the number of man days and all that. So then the audits negotiation and signing of the contracts happen with the audit provider, and then the auditee prepares themselves for the actual audit and the documentation. So now the actual assessment execution. So once the preparation or the self-assessment based on the VDI sheet is complete, then the actual assessment or the audit happens. So the initial TISAX assessment start with your kickoff meeting where your audit dates and the required documents are determined. And then based on your documentation, the VDI sheet, the first, once you register your scope in the Enx portal, you can download the latest VDI sheet from the Enx portal and then do a self-assessment based on your assessment objectives. So you can, the auditee has to fill the self-assessment part. Based on the self-assessment, the auditor will review the self-assessment, what has been done. And then the TISAX assessment will continues with a remote. If it is an assessment level 2, it can be a remote audit. And for assessment level 3, it has to be an on-site audit based on the actual verification or a validation of the documents. And during the closing meeting, the auditor informs the auditee about what are the potential findings. Again, any findings or any CAPA to be done or follow-up assessment to be done. The first results are typically available within few weeks based on the scope. Again, if there are no findings, the TISAX label is valid for 3 years. And if there are any kind of a minor findings, so it has to be, the CAPA action has to be implemented within maximum of 9 months time period. Again, within the 9 months, once the organization implements the CAPA, so there need to be a follow-up audit. So once the follow-up audit is been completed and report has been submitted for the follow-up audit, then the actual TISAX label will be assigned. Okay. So when there is no findings, the auditors will get a TISAX label, which is valid for 3 years. And minor findings, so you have to establish a CAPA process. And then auditors get a temporary label within, which is maximum, as we mentioned, maximum of 9 months period of time. Any major, so you have to close the CAPA, and then auditors get no TISAX label until the risks are being mitigated in case of any major findings. Okay. So corrective action plan. So again, TISAX consider any non-conformity is not yet properly addressed with an appropriate measure has been major. So if you have any kind of a non-conformities and you have to provide the correction, the corrective action, the mitigation plan, and your root cause and evidences. So how the exchange of results happen? As we mentioned, all the exchange of results happen through online portal. So once the auditor is satisfied with the assessment results and there are no findings and all the identified findings are been closed and the follow-up report has been submitted and the report has been approved, reviewed and approved by the audit provider, the audit provider directly inform about the TISAX label to the Enx. And Enx will communicate whoever has registered the email ID, the registered email ID in the Enx from the customer, from the organization side. So that person, concerned person, will get a notification about the assignment of the TISAX label. So Enx, as we mentioned, is an exchange platform, and the audit provider will upload the first 2 sections, the assessment related information and overall assessment results of the TISAX report. At this stage, it's only available to the auditee. So once the assessment results is under fully auditee's control, now the auditees can auditees will have the permission to share it as required. So you can share it with only one of your customer, or if you want, you can share it with your multiple customers. Okay. Higher the sharing level, the more detail about the audit TISAX assessment will be accessible for the respective participants. So auditees can decide to share the assessment results with all the TISAX participants or just with the selected business partners. So it's up to the auditees to whom you want to share your TISAX label results. And then once auditees can publish the assessment results if the overall assessment results is confirmed. So you can, when you log into the Enx, you can see that what are the assessment results are. Again, follow-up audit, as we discussed, if there are any kind of findings, so there need to be a follow-up audit. And the purpose of this follow-up assessment is to assess whether all the previous identified non-conformities, whether it's a major or minor, are resolved. So audit usually requests for it, the auditee usually requests for this follow-up assessment once she ensures that all the non-conformities are eliminated. And during the follow-up assessment, the audit providers still attest existing or even new non-conformities, then the cap must be updated and this part of assessment process starts again. And there can be many follow-up audits as needed, but again, as we discussed, the maximum, the scope validity is for 9 months. If it exceeds 9 months, then you have to again register your scope, and again you have a new registration in your Enx portal. And the follow-up assessment can be physical meeting as well as your conference call or a web conference. And after successful follow-up assessment with no non-conformities left, then the auditee gets a TISAX label for the remaining period. Remaining period means if there are the entire validity is 3 years from starting of your initial assessment. So you may lose whatever period you take to close your non-conformities. So the scope, as we decide, so the scope of TISAX and the test objectives. So the scope is defined by the customer mostly, and then selected during your Enx TISAX registration. As a result, the customer receives the scope expert. So once you log into your Enx portal and define your scope and fill all the details like your assessment level and assessment objective, you will get a final scope expert. And locations, it can be from 1 to X. That means it can be multiple locations you can assign. And the locations are always subject to a total unit. And audit objective or an assessment objectives. We have been discussing about this assessment objectives previously, right? So there are primarily 3 modules for the TISAX assessment. One is your information security, which is a mandatory. You cannot say that I don't want information security as part of my TISAX label. Information security module is a mandatory module for a TISAX label to get a TISAX label. The 2 optional modules which is a prototype protection and a data protection. Prototype protection, if you are handling any kind of customer prototypes within your premises, then you can go for a prototype protection. And data protection in case of EU GDPR customers, if you are a data processor for any EU GDPR related personal data from EU GDPR related customers, then you have to go for a data protection. Otherwise, these 2 modules are not mandatory. It depends again based on the nature of your work. And then the test objective or assessment level. So assessment objectives are 3 based on the modules. Assessment levels, there are kind of 4 kind of a protection. There are kind of 4 assessment levels. The first one, which is assessment level 1, which is a self-assessment. Here you don't need to have any kind of any third-party audit provider for you. You can do your own self-assessment, and you can say that I am at assessment level 1. Whereas you will not get any kind of a TISAX label as such for an assessment level 1. It's just a self-assessment. You download the VDI sheet from the Enx portal, do your self-assessment, and say that, okay, where I am standing in terms of your TISAX controls. That's it. For the assessment level 2, for information security, which we say it is a high protection need. The service provider, so the testing service provider remotely reviews. That means the audit company remotely reviews the submitted documents and conduct a remote interviews. Okay, it's only kind of, the audit is kind of a pulsability check. So what, as part of your self-assessment, you are saying that these are the documents which are available with me. So the auditor is looking and saying that yes, they can have a remote audit also and say that yes, these documents exist and they are what you are saying. Okay, so that's kind of an assessment level 2. For assessment level 3, which is a very high protection requirements, it has to be done on site for all the 3 modules, which is ISMS, data protection and prototype protection. It is kind of an actual verification. So the auditor will actually visit on-site location and see what you are claiming to be true are actually true. So that's what we say at assessment level 3. In these last 2 years, because of the corona time and then because of this travel restrictions and all, TISAX has come up with the new assessment level, which is assessment level 2.5. Okay, because earlier 2 years back it was either assessment level 2 or assessment level 3, whereas because of this travel restrictions and all, they have come up with assessment 2.5, which is a mix between assessment level 2 and assessment level 3. So advantages, again, it can be done remote, and you can easily upgrade from assessment level 2.5 to 3. Okay. Yeah, this is a sample scope expert, which if you log into TISAX, your Enx portal, and this is what you have to do. So majority of the companies, more than 90% of the companies or organizations, they go for a standard scope. The standard scope looks like this. The scope comprises of all processes and involved resources at the sign defined below that are subject to security requirement from partners in the automotive industry. Involved processes and resources include collection of information, storage and information processing of the information. So this can be different based on your organization context. And then assessment objective. So here the organization, state organization, they have chosen with information with very high protection need. Very high protection need means it is AL3. And then data protection with special category of personal data. So they have chosen 2 modules out of 3 modules for the assessment objectives: information security and the data protection. And there is only one location here. Maturity of ISMS. So again, for a TISAX, it's not mandatory that you need to have a 27001 certificate, but it's always good if you have a 27001 certificate, because TISAX controls are derived from 27001. So it's always helpful for an organization if you already have an ISMS implemented in your organization. But again, TISAX doesn't mandate that you should have an ISMS. So that's why you can say, what is your maturity of ISMS? You have already well-defined ISMS, you can write like this. Or you don't have an ISMS, you can say that we don't have an ISMS. Okay, and based on that, you can give your certificate details. And complexity of your ISMS, how complex is your information security management system is, and then use of your other details you can provide. So again, as we discussed, so TISAX scope and objective. So TISAX assessment. So there are 3 modules and then 4 assessment level. The new assessment level is 2.5. The assessment level 1, information security. It's a totally assessment level 1 is a self-assessment. You can download the sheet and then do a self-assessment. Prototype is not applicable for assessment level 1. But for information security and data privacy, you can have an self-assessment done. For assessment level 2, it's kind of a pulsability check. As we said, what you are claiming to be true, the auditor will just view and see that the documents are existing and the work is being performed, and it can be done remote. It need not be on site. But again, if you are selecting a prototype protection, then it has to be on site, even if it is assessment level 2. For a prototype protection, there is nothing called remotely, it cannot be done. It's not possible. For assessment level T, it is completely on site for all the 3 types of a module. Even if it is information security only, you have to be on site for actual validation of the evidences. So that's for the assessment level 3. So again, as we mentioned here, so as if you selected prototype protection as part of your assessment objectives, it has to be mandatorily on site. So general information, the same thing. So as we said, assessment method, self-assessment, which is assessment level 1. Yes. Assessment level 2, for all the 3 assessment level, the first basic step is to do a self-assessment. And then the evidence for assessment level 1, it is not required because you are not selecting any kind of a third-party service audit providers. For assessment level 2, it's just a pulsability check. And then for assessment level 3, it is through verification. And interviews for assessment level 1, not required. For assessment level 2, yes, interviews are required based on the processes, but it can be done via web conferencing or your remote. But for assessment level 3, it has to be on site. And requirements again, and when we say information security with high protection needs or information security with very high protection needs, it need not be equated to assessment level 2 or assessment level 3. We have seen companies where they have gone for information security with very high protection needs, but still at an assessment level 2. So coming to the VDI ISA catalog. So VDI ISA catalog, as we said, so this is a kind of this is an Excel sheet which you can download once you register in Enx Portal, and you can download the latest VDI ISA sheet from the Enx Portal. The current version of VDI ISA sheet is 5.1, and it is a fully completed VDI ISA sheet must be available for each site, prepared by the customer and completed by the auditor. So before the actual assessment start, you need to fill your actual self-assessment, download it a VDI ISA sheet. So it looks like, so the Enx Portal, if you see, there are a couple of documents here, like your TISAX participant manual, your VDI ISA sheet, and the other manuals are available in the Enx Portal. So mandatory TISAX process, the step 1 is TISAX registration by the potential customers. So customer has to do it himself and deliver specific date to Enx, and then scope ID and the scope expert will be generated when you register in the Enx, and then generate a binding code from the platform. So once you select your audit provider, so there will be the code generated, and based on that, based on the scope and the scope expert and the auditor's qualification. So make sure the auditor is appointed, is required for the TISAX assessment. That will be ensured by your audit provider. And then after the quote is accepted by the customer, so following information has to be delivered to the Enx before the actual audit starts. So once you select the audit provider and your quote is been accepted mutually, then you have to give a date to the Enx, the date of your kickoff meeting, the date of your VDI sheet check, and date of your interviews. If you don't inform the dates to Enx and start your audit, it will be invalidated. So the audit will not be valid. And once the assessment or the audit is done, the report will be delivered. And again, as we mentioned, so everything will be online. So the report, and then approval of the report, and then approval of your TISAX label, and the actual final label will be given to you from Enx to the customer or to the customer. So again, if there are any kind of a non-conformances, then the follow-up audits has to follow the TISAX follow-up audit assessment process. So yeah, so from here, how we as a DQS can help you. So definitely we can help you in terms of making you understand about the process, how to approach in case of like how to go to the Enx portal, how to register, and how to download the scope expert and all that, and in terms of understanding the processes. And again, DQS BIT is one of the first TISAX testing service provider of Enx and has been performing the assessment since 2018. And then prerequisites are the execution of an international TISAX activity as a testing service provider. And this is couple of credentials, as in the beginning Mr. Girish has mentioned. So we have done couple of assessment for TISAX, both at assessment level 2 and assessment level 3, and for all assessment objectives like your information security, data protection, as well as your prototype protection for all these customers. Yeah, so any questions? Hello.
Yeah, Girija, there are a couple of questions on the chat box. I would request Rakesh to take care of that. Rakesh, can you see that?
Thanks, Girija ma'am. And there are a couple of questions. Basically, is there any fee for the TISAX registration in the TISAX network?
Yes. So yeah, DK sir, you would like to take up this question or you want me to?
Yes, thanks, Girija. I'm Dwarkanath here. I manage the corporate and international accounts of DQS. So a hearty welcome to all participants. Thank you, Girish and Girija, for taking us through. Yeah, there is a fee. There will be the Enx fee will be there for per site, about 450 euros for the main site, and followed by some nominal fee for the child sites. Similarly, DQS will have some TISAX accreditation management fee per site. So this is about the question.
Yeah. Yeah, DK sir, another question. Is a registration fee is for each location, like head office, sales office, and the manufacturing location, or is it separately needed to be registered in the portal?
Each site has to be registered in the portal. Each site will receive a scope excerpt. If it is a group location, it will be in one scope excerpt. However, if the company is a different legal entity, then it will be two scope excerpts.
Okay. So one TISAX participant assessment can be used for other TISAX participant requirement.
Absolutely. This is what Girija has also confirmed, that the results of the one TISAX audit can be shared with multiple partners depending on to whom they service or supply.
Okay, so the next question, is it mandatory for all auto OEM suppliers and sub-suppliers to get TISAX label?
This is now being made mandatory, but it as we hear from OEMs that it will become mandatory starting 2023 and end of 2023 now. So it all depends on nature of service and product what they share. So based on the category of their services, they are thinking of making it mandatory.
Yeah, just want to add, Rakesh, what DK shared. The BMW and VW Volkswagen has globally mandated its supply chain to comply with TISAX. And we were interacting with a couple of other guys last month. Somebody was sharing, Maruti also has started asking supply. Now, which category of supplier they will ask as a first, particularly when it comes to Indian OEMs, that depends on the criticality of the product and the which level of supply chain they are today present. But definitely, this is something which every OEM very much concerned about, and you will see that more and more OEMs are asking the supply chain to go for it.
Okay, sir. So the next question, if a company has to go for assessment level 3, even if prototype security is not applicable, what's the procedure, or is it applicable?
No, even if with the prototype protection, if the prototype protection is applicable, it has to be mandatorily on site. But if you are going for an assessment level 3, then it has to be on site, even if it is only information security.
Okay.
I will put it other way also, but just to extend what Girija says. See,
Yeah.
If somebody is into prototype information handling, somebody is developing the product in addition to as a part of supply of the product, design of the product, they're also developing the prototype and giving customer for the approval. So during development stage itself, how this information is protected. So that is customer expects that, don't exclude that. We have seen a couple of cases where the customers have gone for AL2 first, not for AL3. That means without prototype protection, but now they are coming back and asking, can we extend the scope to AL3? So there are two situations. Maybe first, we didn't have a a prototype product that time. You are not involved in those type of services. The second case, you were involved, but you had not gone for the first phase. But now they are coming back to this. So if you are involved in prototype development, definitely the applicability is AL3, and which is for the prototype.
Okay, sir. The next question is, does any US automakers demands TISAX as of now?
As of now, there is no clear information as such, because VDA being a body of German Automotive Association, as of now, majority of the players are or members are automotive, but Magna is also one of the subscribing or participant in the development of this VDA. So, not the OEM, but tier one level, they are participants from US market also.
Okay, sir. Thanks. And next question, does the TISAX and the portal support Chinese language?
Can you come again? Can you come again?
No, the portal, is it available in Chinese language, the Enx portal?
We have not tried that.
Yeah.
Have to sure that we have not seen that. Maybe it is available because it is available in, it's a worldwide initiative, so it should be available. Maybe I can recheck and then reconfirm.
And is it officially authorized in China?
TISAX labels are also applicable in China. So if they are supplying to any OEMs like VW or BMW, TISAX, if this is being mandated by them, so that will be applicable for them as well.
Okay. And the next question is, after the registration with the Enx, how much time does it take for the assessment?
Okay. Yeah, so after registering with the Enx, it depends on the comfort of the organization. Okay, so if I have as we discussed, right, if I have a well-maintained, well-established ISMS, okay, it depends on the organization, the implementation of your TISAX control. So if I am already an ISMS certified organization, so maybe the gap would be less. But if I don't have an ISMS in place, so maybe the time period would be more.
Okay. And next question, what's the basis on which level of certification to do, and if so, can an organization go from L1 to L3 directly?
So L1 is not a certification, it's just a self-assessment. So L1, there need not be any third party. Okay, it just you can download the VDI ISS sheet and see what are the controls for TISAX and do a self-assessment, right? So you can start with L2 and then you can from L2 to L3 you can go.
Okay.
Or direct, as you said, okay, not from L1 to L3, you can say you can directly go for an assessment level 3, yes.
And the next question, how can we decide on the scope if an organization decide to undergo TISAX proactively without having any automotive customers?
Yeah, maybe
So
That's a difficult question,
yeah.
because your customer is not demanding, then you have to decide yourself. Number one, there have been also questions from some of the companies. They wanted to have a TISAX. They wanted to go for TISAX, even though they were not into automotive supply chain. So, so both the question, one is if customer is not asking, then you have to work out and apply for through the portal. So you have to select the basically the labels and the scope, which are standard scopes are available. So everything is not customized in this case. So you have to select auto available one. And second thing is, if you are not in the supply chain of automotive, the challenge becomes that your customer will not be also in the platform. So when we say Trust Information Security Exchange platform, if your customers and you both are there, then you can have those information sharing. If your customers are not there, then it will not help you. So
Yeah.
even though the rules does not prohibit you to go for it.
Okay. Another question is, does TISAX supersedes other security certifications?
Other security certifications, for example?
Like 27K or anything?
No, because 27001 is a mother of, like, it's a higher I'll not say higher, but if you see controls wise, it's much more broader than TISAX. So definitely TISAX doesn't supersede ISMS. TISAX is only for a specific industry like automotive industry, information security for automotive industry, whereas ISMS is across industries.
Just want to add, probably if you're into automotive industry, TISAX will add more value in terms of it addresses the customer specific requirement. It addresses the aspect, for example, the prototype development. Otherwise, in the generic 27001, you might miss those aspects. Also, there are aspects people who are involved in promotional media, people photographing, printing before the products are launched. You can understand the information has to be secure from that time itself. Otherwise, all the hype which gets created for the launch of the product becomes futile. So it covers those aspects which a typical ISO 27001 does not cover mandatorily, because you decide the scope there. That's the first part. And second part is that there is a slight difference is against 27001. There's a maturity model, so you get scored 1, 2, 3, 4. So that also gives you a platform or the areas where you can further work upon and improve further. Even though the moment you get scored 2, you will meet the requirement, but you can still improve your system, make it much more robust by implementing the level 3 and level 4 requirement. So that's a slightly difference compared to 27001.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next one, if there is no customer requirement, which is recommended, like TISAX or 27K?
If you're supplying to automotive industry, probably TISAX will be more appropriate for you. But if you have a automotive and non-automotive put together, and automotive customers are not asking at this present moment, maybe you can start with 27001. But the way it is moving, I think the automotive customer will very soon approach you to go for TISAX if they have not approached it.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next one is, apart from the registration, portal registration charges, how what are the other factors which which will assess the assessment fees apart from the portal charge?
Yeah, DK, over to you.
Sure. Apart from the Enx Portal fee, DQS will also levy audit fee, that is the kickoff fee, the VDI check fee, the interview fee, report writing fee, and TISAX accreditation management fee. So these are all the fee structure which DQS has on its
own. This is applicable for each site, or
it is based on the number of days which is being allocated at each site. TISAX accreditation management fee will be on an overall number of sites. It is not a site specific one. The overall number of it is sums up the total fee. We will be levying only one TISAX accreditation fee for one group of companies.
So, the next question is, does TISAX adapt the same ISO 27001 requirements in that subpart, all clauses from 4 to 10? And the second part of that is optional controls based on risk assessment.
No, so what is the second part?
Optional controls 114 based on risk assessment.
Yeah, so TISAX controls are, so TISAX doesn't have any kind of a requirements as for ISMS like clause 4 to 10. So it's a mix of few parts, like risk assessment is definitely there, but all other things are part of your controls, 114 controls. But TISAX doesn't have 114 controls. It has maximum, like for the information security, it's around 92 controls. But it's a mix of both. ISMS risks, ISMS objectives are there, internal audits, MRM, few things from the requirements, but majority are from the controls. So did I answer the question? Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
I think
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
So that's all the questions we have received till now. So
All right. So if there's no further questions, on behalf of the DQS team, we'd like to say once again, thank you very much for joining this session. You can always reach us if you have any further query or if you want any type of support, clarification related to the TISAX. We'll be more than happy to serve you. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.